This video is meant to help give you a little bit of a background on macronutrients, their impact on hunger, and how it impacts our blood sugar levels, which we'll discuss is a really important factor for a lot of different reasons. So first of all, we'll talk about macronutrients. And for those of you that are watching as part of the VSG mini-series, when it comes to after surgery, you might notice your portions start to increase slowly with time. And that is totally normal. So that is okay. You might notice right out of surgery, you are having maybe 4 to 5 meals a day. And as those portions grow, ideally the goal is to get back to 3 meals a day, snacks only if necessary. And the reason why is the impact on our blood sugar levels, but more importantly, the impact on a hormone called insulin. So you may recognize insulin as a term used when it comes to like type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And insulin has a really important job of helping shuttle the sugar in our blood into our cells. So imagine after a meal, we eat a meal, our insulin rises to help take that energy in and bring our blood sugar levels down. And each food group has a different impact on our blood sugar levels and therefore our insulin. And the reason why insulin is so important is because when insulin is present in the blood, essentially we can't get into fat burning mode. So when insulin is high, our body is more in fat storage mode, and it makes losing weight really difficult. Whether you're just trying to lose weight or if you're working on managing those blood sugar levels after surgery, insulin is a key factor. And that's why I'm not a fan of snacking, or why maybe your clinical staff or your surgeon has recommended no snacking between meals, because we tend to have our blood sugar levels and therefore insulin levels higher throughout the day versus letting them drop naturally after a meal. So really, when it comes to weight loss, optimizing those insulin levels and keeping them as buffered as possible is the goal. So we'll talk about macronutrients and how that has an impact on our blood sugar levels and therefore insulin. So if you don't have it, for those of you in my life program, I do have my grocery list. It is free to the public, so I will put a link in the description if you want to download a copy for yourself. When you download the free PDF, it does include a mini series on macronutrients, so it's a really good complement to today's conversation. But to start, we'll talk about the macronutrients and what those are. If you think macro means big, so those are the big things that make up our diet, essentially. So we have macronutrients and we have micronutrients. So micronutrients are made up of vitamins and minerals, really some of those small things that factor into our diet, whereas the macronutrients are big things. So carbohydrates, protein, and fat. So there is a fourth one, alcohol, but we won't talk about that one today. It's a little bit lesser known as a macronutrient. But getting into the macros, we'll start with protein. And for those of you watching who have had VSG surgery, gastric sleeve, gastric bypass, this is the thing you probably hear the most is protein first, how many grams a day? The list goes on, really. So protein's important for a lot of different reasons. And one of the main ones is that it helps not only buffer those blood sugar levels, but it also helps in terms of keeping us satisfied for longer. So protein takes a little bit more energy, and it helps our metabolism by taking some more energy to break that down and digest it compared to the other macronutrients. So another reason why protein is so important is because when we are needing to preserve muscle mass, protein is going to be key in that. And the reason why is when we lose weight, we tend to lose muscle with it. So what happens is we want to minimize how much muscle we lose when we lose weight, and protein and strength training are 2 ways that we can do that. So when we're looking at macronutrients as a whole, protein's going to help with that lean mass. It's going to take a little bit longer to digest and keep us feeling full. So a good place to start, so whether you've had surgery or not, 20 to 30 grams a meal is a good gauge to start with. So per sitting, 20 to 30 grams. For those of you, again, coming right out of surgery, that can be a big ask. Don't feel like you've got to force feed to get there, but you will get there the further you get out from surgery. So macronutrient number 2 we'll talk about is fat. And for the last 3 or 4 decades, we've been told to minimize fat, eat low fat for optimal heart health, to lose weight. So when we come to talking about healthy fats and reincorporating those into the diet, it can be really scary, especially for those of you who've maybe counted Weight Watchers points or counted calories on MyFitnessPal. Fat tends to pack twice as many calories per gram compared to the other macronutrients, but that's not a bad thing. So one thing with fats is that they're going to help buffer those blood sugar levels the most. So I always tell people, be sure to include healthy fat sources, like using things like butter, olive oil, avocado, nuts, cheese. Those can help buffer the spikes on your blood sugar and therefore have a positive impact on your insulin levels too, where you're not seeing those drastic spikes. So don't be scared of fat. Don't fear fat. I know I'm a dietitian and I'm telling you to eat fat, but for good reason. Outside of buffering our blood sugar levels, fat is also very important for hormone production, reducing inflammation if you're getting the right kinds of fat. Again, if you feel like you want a little bit more guidance, go ahead and grab my grocery list in the description, and that will give you a little bit more direction on what fats to choose and maybe what fats to avoid. So far you've learned 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal. Be sure to include a fat source with every meal and snack to help buffer those blood sugar levels. And lastly, we'll talk about carbohydrates. So macronutrient number 3, carbs. And for those of you who are watching who may have family members, or maybe you yourself have diabetes, this is a macronutrient that gets a lot of attention. And especially now with keto crazes and low carb diets, there's a lot of maybe not so great advice out there. But again, if you're looking for a reference, really my grocery list focuses on slow carbohydrates. So what I mean by that is slow. They're slow to impact those blood sugar levels, which you will always hear from me. And they're also slow because they pack a lot of fiber. So if you have troubles going, like to the bathroom, getting some good slow carb sources that have lots of fiber can help add bulk and move things along. And they can also add in volume to your diet. So think of these slow carbs are going to be things like vegetables, fruits, beans, and those things that have a lot of roughage. Those are gonna, again, not impact your blood sugar levels the most, add a lot of volume, and really help you feel full. So rather than focusing on avoiding carbs altogether, I would challenge you just to be more picky on what carbs you choose to put on your plate and trying to get something from each of the 3 macronutrients every time you eat for best blood sugar control. By rounding out your plate with a variety of macronutrients, you'll probably find less of a temptation to snack between meals. And again, that can have a positive impact on those blood sugar levels throughout the day. And again, insulin. So trying to get to those 3 meals a day, minimizing snacking only when you're really feeling physically hungry can help. And another note on snacking or protein, for those of you who use protein shakes, for example, one thing that I wanted to point out in this conversation today is, yes, protein shakes can be really, really helpful after weight loss surgery, or for anyone else for that matter who is trying to get extra protein in. I'm a really big fan. However, I have one caveat, and that is the amount of time it takes to sip on this protein shake. So if you think back to our conversation earlier when we're talking about eating for longer periods of time, keeping those blood sugars up, which means our insulin is up, really we want to treat that protein shake more like a meal. So rather than sipping on it for, say, 60 to 90 minutes while you're sitting there working on your laptop, try to get that protein shake in as best as you can in, say, 10 or 15 minutes. So treating that more like a meal for a couple different reasons. It's going to have a positive impact on your blood sugar levels. And second of all, it's going to help your feelings of fullness. So for example, when you are sipping on this protein shake for, minutes and minutes and maybe hours and hours, you're not getting the stretch on your stomach like you would when you have it all as once or when you have a meal, for example. And when your stomach stretches or you get some of those stretch receptors to tell your brain that you're full, you're going to notice big changes in your appetite. So if you are one of those protein sippers, try to wean that down to a smaller time frame, and I promise you will feel a lot fuller and more satisfied for it. So if you like this video and you want to learn more, check out more from my VSG exclusive group. We've got that going on right now. Registration will be open until Friday. Otherwise, we will have more coming up here as well. So you can check out more information in the description. You can grab the grocery list if you don't have it already. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to see more like this.